Hey guys, tonight we're going somewhere most people never dare to tread, right into the messy, uncomfortable, brutally honest space where your old self gets left behind. Picture this. It's late. The world outside your window is quiet, but inside your mind, that's where the real storm brews. The doubts, the fears, the endless, exhausting question of, am I really becoming the person I'm meant to be tonight? We tear through that noise. Tonight, I want you to see it clearly. The hidden battle between the version of you that settles and the version of you that rises. Because make no mistake, this isn't about towering over others. This is about standing so steady, so unshakably grounded in who you are, that no storm, no failure, no critic can knock you down. But fair warning, most people never come back from this kind of truth. You probably won't survive this version of yourself, the one that clings to comfort, avoids the hard questions, hides from the work. That version, we're leaving them behind tonight. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to click like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now, dim the lights. Let the outside world fade and lean in, because this isn't just another motivational pep talk. This is the moment you rise, above the noise, above the excuses, above the rest. Before any mountain is climbed, it is first conquered in the mind. That's something Marcus Aurelius understood long before his name became etched in the fabric of philosophy. Every challenge, every moment that asks us to rise, it begins not with applause, not with fortune, but with quiet preparation within. See, victory isn't handed to those who merely wish for it. It belongs to those who shape themselves, patiently, deliberately, long before the world notices. And to rise above the rest, it's not about domination. It's not about towering over others so they can see you. It's about seeing yourself more clearly, about living with deeper purpose, about walking with steadiness through a world that often feels chaotic and restless. It's not pride that lifts you. It's discipline. It's not admiration that sustains you. It's unshakable clarity in the face of uncertainty. The Stoics, they never taught us to seek attention. They taught us to become unmoved, to build an inner posture that stays tall, even when life tries to bend us. What separates the few from the many, it's not privilege, it's not luck. It's not fame or some secret code passed down to the elite. It's something far less glamorous, but far more powerful. It's the quiet, repeated decision to govern yourself, to wrestle with vice rather than invite it in for coffee, to pursue wisdom when ignorance whispers in your ear that it's easier to look away, to live by principle even when impulse feels so much more tempting, and perhaps hardest of all, to choose discomfort when comfort would dull your soul. See, they didn't stumble into greatness. They built it, brick by brick, choice by choice, moment by quiet, unseen moment. They understood, as Epictetus did, that to rise is not to avoid pain. It is to become immune to the corruption of your judgment by pain. It's not about living untouched by challenge, but about walking through challenge untouched in spirit. Greatness, to the Stoic, is not measured by followers. It's not measured by applause. It's measured by the strength of your foundation, by your ability to build an interior citadel, a fortress no criticism, no failure, no flattery can shake. In this space, We're going to walk that path together. We'll trace the footsteps of those who chose self-mastery over self-indulgence, clarity over confusion. They lived with a sharpness, a kind of inner precision that let them see beyond the noise, beyond the crowd, into the truth of things. They believed life's highest achievement isn't applause, it isn't wealth, it isn't even recognition. It's alignment. Alignment with nature, with reason, with virtue. And so this is not a path to rise above others. It's a path to rise above your former self, the self that once settled for less, the self that once feared the unknown, the self that once followed the crowd because it was easier than leading your own way. Every chapter we step into from here is another upward step. Each one invites you, challenges you, sometimes quietly confronts you, and with every step, the same simple, unrelenting question echoes, will you rise? We are the first number one, the foundation of the few, mastering what you control. If there's one radical, life-altering filter the Stoics handed down, it's this: what is within my control and what is not. Sounds simple. It isn't. But in its simplicity lies an entire way of living that will set you apart in a world that reacts, that panics, that clings to illusions of control. Epictetus said it clearly: there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Now, pause for a moment. Really let that settle. What if your energy, your mental bandwidth was no longer wasted on what you cannot shape? Think of how much space would open up inside you. The behavior of others, not yours to control. The weather, good luck. The past, it's written. Your reputation that belongs to whispers and wandering opinions. But your thoughts, your choices, your character, those are yours. Always were, always will be. This isn't passivity. This is power. It's stepping off the treadmill of reacting to life and stepping into the quiet sovereignty of governing yourself. Most people drift through their days like leaves in the wind, but the Stoic, they root themselves like a tree. So picture it. A day unfolds. Someone insults you. Traffic snarls your plans. The project falls apart. A loved one disappoints you. The world, messy, unpredictable, throws its usual curveballs. Do you fall apart too, or do you pause, breathe? Ask, is this within my control? Right there, that becomes your pivot point. Instead of cursing the wind, you adjust your sails. Instead of spiraling, you anchor down. This isn't theory. This is mastery in motion. A practice you can begin right now. Here's a tool for the real world every morning. Open a journal. Draw 2 columns. On the left, what's in my control today? On the right, what isn't? List them. As the day unfolds, keep coming back to that list. Someone cuts you off in traffic, right column. Your response to it, left column. A coworker gossips, right column. How you engage, left column. Do this daily, and clarity becomes your habit. Reaction shrinks, intention grows. Over time, this rewires your mind. You learn to pause before reacting. You begin to separate emotion from intention. You act from grounded principle, not from impulsive pride. And this changes everything, because you stop drifting through life ruled by ego, by the urge to prove yourself, by the shallow chase for validation. You begin to govern your inner world like a wise ruler. This isn't perfection. This is progress. You'll spot the subtle moments when ego flares up. How you argue to win, not to learn. how you seek validation over quiet self-respect, how you confuse performance with purpose. And each time you notice these, each time you return to what truly matters, you rise, not once, not occasionally, but always. It's never about towering over others, it's about standing tall within yourself. So here's your quiet challenge. Start the journal. Make the list. Choose the left column over and over again. The world. It will keep spinning. People will disappoint. Plans will unravel. But you'll be rooted. Rooted in clarity. Rooted in what you control. Rooted in a foundation few ever build. And from that foundation, you will rise. Number 2, endurance over ease. The quiet strength of persistence. We live in a culture obsessed with shortcuts, with viral success, with visible victory, with the polished, filtered illusion of people who appear to have it all. But the Stoics, they weren't impressed by appearances. They didn't chase convenience. They didn't measure greatness by the speed of your rise, but by the strength of your roots. Seneca, with his usual blunt wisdom, put it simply, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Pause. Let that land, because this is not a philosophy for the faint-hearted. To rise above the rest, you will endure what others escape. You will lean into what others avoid. You will choose the discomfort that chisels your character over the comfort that numbs your potential. But hear this clearly. The Stoic does not seek pain. We're not here to romanticize suffering. We're not martyrs. We're not masochists, but we also do not run. When adversity arrives, and it will, we welcome it. Not with joy, but with readiness. Not with bravado, but with quiet composure. Adversity is not punishment. It is purification. It strips away illusion. It exposes attachment. It brings the soul face to face with its own strength. Because let's be honest, luxury dulls the senses. Comfort creates stagnation. Ease breeds fragility. But struggle awakens. It humbles. It clarifies. It reveals. The obstacle. It isn't the detour. It is the way. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Look at any hardship you've faced. Loss, failure, rejection, embarrassment. The moments you'd never post about, never frame as achievements. And yet, weren't those the moments that taught you the most, that refined your edges, that revealed who you are beneath your comfort? The Stoic sees hardship not as a curse, but as a silent teacher. Every setback contains hidden instructions. Most miss them. Too frantic, too offended, too busy resisting reality. But those who slow down, who breathe through the storm, who refuse to break, they discover lessons in patience. When life delays your plans, lessons in tenacity. When failure whispers, you can't. Lessons in humility. When success tempts your pride. Lessons in grace. When the world demands a reaction and you choose stillness instead. These are not abstract virtues. They are living skills, forged through repetition, sharpened through discomfort, strengthened. When no one is watching, it's not glamorous. There's no applause, just quiet resolve, just you, and the threshold you refuse to cross backward. Endurance isn't about stubbornness, it's about sacred strength, the kind born from alignment with what's true, with what's right, with what's worth enduring for. And in that alignment, there's power. The rarest kind. The kind that allows you to continue, even when everything around you screams, stop, quit, collapse, escape. But you don't. Not because it's easy, but because it's essential. So, pause now. Look at your life. Where are you avoiding discomfort? Where are you tolerating what is quietly holding back your growth? Where have you chosen ease over evolution? Is it physical, your health, your habits, your energy? Is it emotional? The conversations you've avoided, the boundaries you've never set, the fears you tiptoe around. Is it spiritual, the time you never carve out for silence, the truths you refuse to examine, the beliefs you carry without question? Or maybe it's relational, the friendships that drain, the dynamics that disrespect, the connections that no longer align. Be honest. Where have you chosen escape over action? That is your invitation. Bring that discomfort to light. Sit with it. Let it make you restless. Let it peel away your denial. Trace its roots, understand it, and then take one step forward. Not a giant leap, not a radical overhaul. One deliberate step. Here's the challenge. Choose a goal, a specific, measurable, daily goal. Something that edges you into discomfort, but pulls you toward growth. It could be physical daily movement, waking earlier, cold showers, discipline rituals. It could be emotional, initiating that difficult conversation, saying what you mean, setting the boundary. It could be mental journaling your resistance, meditating through frustration, challenging your excuses. It could be spiritual stillness, silence, reflection beyond the surface. Whatever it is, it must be clear, attainable, but meaningful enough to make you uncomfortable. Once chosen, write it down. Define success, define the obstacles, anticipate the resistance, because it's coming. The days you'll feel tired, the moments you'll want to quit. The whispers of it doesn't matter, but here's what matters. You show up. Every day, you show up, even when imperfect, even when resistant, even when no one notices, especially when no one notices. Track your process. Journal the days you win, and more importantly, journal the days you struggle and still show up, because those are your real victories. The days you persist in discomfort. Those are the days your old self begins to dissolve. That self, the one that avoided, the one that compromised, the one that settled. Each time you endure, you become someone different. Not overnight, not in one dramatic transformation, but choice by choice, habit by habit, test by quiet, unseen test. And one day, you'll wake up and realize the resistance that once owned you, it no longer defines you. The fear that whispered, "Stop it now," whispers, "You've done harder." The identity of someone who avoids gone, replaced by someone who rises. This is how confidence is built, not through ease, but through consistent confrontation with discomfort, not through slogans, but through scars, through resilience, through hard-earned self-trust. Each challenge met another layer of strength. Each failure faced proof of your endurance. Each setback navigated evidence of your evolution. Over time, it becomes who you are. It integrates. It infuses your posture. It saturates your presence. It fortifies your mind. You don't need external motivation anymore. You trust your ability to endure because you've proven it to yourself. Not in theory. In trial. Every day you persist, you rise. Above the discomfort, above the weaker self, above the old limitations that once whispered, you can't. You're not enough. You're not ready. But now you know better. You've walked through the fire, and fire doesn't destroy gold. It reveals it. Your strength, it's real. Your endurance, proven. Your transformation, ongoing. You rise, quietly, consistently, undeniably, above the rest, maybe, but more importantly, above the self you once refused to believe in, and that is Stoic greatness, earned, not given, lived, not performed, quiet, but undeniable. So, where will you endure today? Where will you trade comfort for courage? Where will you rise? Again, the choice is yours. Number 3, inner wealth building, unshakable character. To truly rise, to separate yourself from the drift of the ordinary, you must build something the world cannot touch, cannot steal, cannot distort. Your character. Everything else, the applause, the status, the titles, the trends, they rust, they fade, they shift with the winds of opinion and the passing of time. But character, virtue, your inner wealth, that endures. Marcus Aurelius, sitting atop the vast Roman Empire, with more power at his fingertips than most could imagine, still reminded himself, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's it. That's the task. That's the challenge. While the world chases recognition, while influencers scramble for attention, while status games play out in every corner of society, the Stoic focuses inward. They know possessions can be taken. They know titles can be stripped. They know public opinion is as fickle as the sea. But virtue belongs to you, and only you. Courage, justice, temperance, wisdom. These aren't abstract ideals to admire from a distance. They are daily practices. They are daily tests. They are daily invitations to either rise or retreat. The Stoics never saw virtue as intellectual decoration. They saw it as the living architecture of the soul. Ask yourself, right now, be brutally honest. Do you speak truth when lying would benefit you? Do you show restraint when anger tempts you? Do you pursue justice when silence would protect you? Do you choose patience when frustration screams for release? Do you prioritize wisdom when ignorance feels easier? These are the crucibles of character, not the easy moments, not the public declarations, but the quiet, private battles when no one's watching, when the only reward is self-respect. Virtue is not forged in theory. It's shaped in friction. It's carved in silence. It's built in repetition. Every time you pause before speaking, every time you act with justice, even when no one sees, every time you hold to principle under pressure, you are layering steel around your soul. The Stoic does not admire virtue. They embody it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And here's the hidden truth most overlook. When you live aligned with virtue, you unlock a quiet, indestructible power, a power not of dominance, but of invincibility within. It's the kind of strength no external force can shake. The kind of foundation that holds steady. Even as life rages, you move through the world differently. You act not from reaction, but from values. You speak not for approval, but for truth. You choose not for ease, but for honor. In a world obsessed with convenience, popularity, and quick wins, The person who walks in virtue becomes rare, becomes different, becomes unshakable. They carry their own compass, one that doesn't spin wildly with culture, one that doesn't twist with trends, one that always points to what is right. And yes, that means being misunderstood. It means being overlooked. It means being opposed. And still, you walk forward, without compromise, without apology, without surrender. It means showing restraint when rage would feel satisfying, patience when retaliation feels justified, integrity when shortcuts promise quick rewards. It means endurance during the invisible tests, the moments when no one sees, and still you choose honor. And with each choice, you build slowly, stubbornly, layer by layer. You build a core of steel, wrapped in quiet grace. You turn ordinary days into proving grounds for your soul. Every time you hold your tongue, every time you take the higher road unseen, every time you resist the temptation to cut corners, another layer forged, another brick laid, another thread of integrity woven into your being. The Stoic does not seek perfection. They seek progress toward wholeness. To be the same person in silence as they are in the spotlight. To be inwardly clean, even when outwardly questioned. To be true to themselves, even when misunderstood by others. And when your character is whole, life cannot break you. It can only reveal you. Misfortune, it's a mirror. It reflects your reality, not your performance, not your reputation, but your truth. Hardship, it clarifies, it strips illusion, it exposes depth. It shows you what survives the storm. And here's the most beautiful surprise you'll often find. You're stronger than you thought, not because you avoided testing, but because you survived the testing. Because your values outlasted the pressure. The world can take many things: your status, your health, your possessions, the fickle approval of strangers. But virtue once truly formed, untouchable, unstealable, indestructible. It echoes through every action. It hums beneath your words. It glows from your posture. Darkness cannot dim it, loss cannot erode it, criticism cannot fracture it. The Stoic knows this may harm my body, this may harm my status, but not my integrity. That is real strength, not the absence of hardship, but the refusal to fracture under it. That's the ground you never surrender, the treasure you never negotiate. It's not stubbornness. It's sacred commitment to your values, to your standard, to your higher nature, knowing it's the only possession the world cannot take. Only you can surrender it. And when you refuse, you rise. You anchor yourself in the only wealth that outlives storms, in the only foundation that doesn't crack under pressure, in the only currency that retains its worth. No matter how loud, how chaotic, how unpredictable life becomes, you plant your roots deep in the soil of virtue. And when the winds of life blow, and they will, the storms come, and they will, you endure. But more than endure, you grow. You transform hardship into fuel, loss into insight, challenge into evolution. You become the kind of person no storm can destroy, not because the storm never reaches you, but because your soul is a fortress, brick by brick, principle by principle, trial by trial, built, tested, strengthened. You don't pray for calm seas. You become a skilled sailor. You don't crave easier conditions. You cultivate stronger character. You stop counting wins by the world's shallow metrics. You start counting quiet victories. The day you stayed aligned under pressure. The moment you chose virtue over reaction. The breath you held when anger flared. The word you spoke for truth, not applause. These are your legacy, not headlines, not trophies, not trends. A life lived with quiet, dignified alignment. A house not built of cards, but of character. A foundation that doesn't shake with criticism. A posture that doesn't crumble with failure. A strength that doesn't depend on being seen. The storms will test you. They will reveal your architect. They will show the world. And more importantly, they will show you what you've built. When the storm passes and the dust settles, you'll see. You didn't just survive. You rose by becoming a living monument to what virtue can withstand. And you don't need applause for that, because the reward is already within the quiet, undeniable knowledge you have become, who you were meant to be. So here's your practice. Pick one Stoic virtue. 1. Make it your anchor for the next 30 days. Truthfulness, patience, generosity, restraint, courage, justice. Whatever speaks to you, whatever challenges you, whatever sharpens you, let it guide your decisions. Filter your words through it. Reflect on it daily. Did I embody this today? Where did I fall short? Where did I stand firm? Notice the small wins. Celebrate them. Notice the stumbles. Learn from them. And with each step, with each choice, with each reflection, you won't just practice the virtue, you'll become it. And in that becoming, you rise. Number 4, purpose over popularity. Living for what truly matters. There is a quiet, dangerous drift that sways most lives off course. It's not dramatic. It's not obvious. It doesn't arrive with thunder. It arrives with applause, with approval, with the dopamine hit of fitting in, of being seen, of being popular. But here's the uncomfortable truth the Stoics understood. Popularity is the currency of the crowd. Purpose is the compass of the few. To rise above the rest, you must stop performing and start pursuing. You must live for something that cannot be clapped into existence, that cannot be canceled out of existence, that remains even when no one notices. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the world's greatest empire, the most powerful man of his time, reminded himself day after day, if someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever truly harmed. Read that again. He wasn't chasing the illusion of appearing right. He was chasing the reality of becoming right. And that distinction, that's the foundation of a principled life. It's so easy to get caught in the performance, to curate the image, to filter the flaws, to adjust the script based on who's watching, what gets applause, what gets approval. But at some point, you have to ask what truly matters to me, not to my peers, not to my followers, not to my past self, but to the core of who I am, of who I'm becoming. What am I willing to suffer for, to stand alone for, to be misunderstood for, if the applause stopped tomorrow? Would you still walk this path? Would you still believe in your work? Would you still respect the person you are becoming? These questions, they are inconvenient, they are unsettling, but they are necessary. The world rarely gives us time to ask them, but the Stoic carves out that space in silence, in stillness, in solitude. They peel away the performance, the noise, the opinions, the trends, and what remains is raw, is real, is the neglected terrain of authenticity. In that quiet, away from distraction, you confront the neglected corners of your conviction. You ask, what would I pursue if no one ever clapped? What would I regret? If my life ended tomorrow, what would I stand for, even if I stood alone? These are not comfortable questions, but they are clarifying ones. And once asked, they haunt you. They whisper during your commute. They interrupt your scrolling. They reframe your ambitions. They reveal the emptiness of endless hustle, the hollowness of applause that comes at the expense of your soul. And that discomfort, it's a gift. It signals a new chapter, a deeper alignment, a painful but necessary pulling away from popularity toward purpose, from noise to necessity, from surface to substance. At first, it feels disorienting. It feels like losing your footing, like questioning everything that once motivated you. But beneath that discomfort, clarity is born. The performance begins to die. The real life begins to rise. A life that feels rooted. A life where each day has weight, not just motion. And here's the hidden reality. Few ask these questions. Even fewer listen to the answers. Because once you hear them, you cannot unhear them. And suddenly, the old life feels shallow, hollow, no matter how polished it looks from the outside. But those who do ask, those who do listen, they rise. They filter their decisions through meaning, not momentum. They weigh opportunities, not by the size of the stage, but by the size of their purpose. They begin to distinguish movement from direction, applause from authenticity, urgency from importance. They say no to the loudest voices, so they can hear the quiet truth inside. They let go of busyness and reach for depth, knowing that depth is rare, and what is rare is valuable. They stop outsourcing their direction to trends. They tune in to timeless truth, stillness over stimulation, integrity over imitation, intention over impulse. And they realize noise fades, but meaning remains. The life aligned with purpose. It may be quieter, but it stands taller. It endures longer. It feels right. It becomes a beacon, not through volume, but through consistency. It may not trend. It may not go viral. It may not gather followers, but it gathers respect, clarity, resilience, depth. And here's the most liberating part: you no longer need the world to understand. You no longer need the spotlight, because you walk, even if you walk alone. That is purpose. That is power. Here's your quiet practice. Set aside 1 hour, disconnect, no phone, no noise, no performance, and ask yourself: 1. What truly matters to me? 2. What would I regret not doing if life ended tomorrow? What would I pursue if no one ever applauded? Be honest, be raw, be uncomfortable. From those answers, extract one principle, one mission, one guiding truth. For the next 30 days, let that be your filter. Let that be your compass. Every opportunity, every decision, every hesitation, ask: does this align with who I truly want to become? Watch as clarity becomes your elevation, as depth becomes your distinction, as quiet conviction becomes your fuel, and as popularity fades, purpose remains, and from that you rise. Number 5. Emotional mastery. Staying calm in chaos. Your emotions, they are not your enemies. They are not the enemy. They are messengers, sometimes subtle, sometimes loud, reminding you of your humanity. But when left unchecked, when unexamined, they transform from messengers to tyrants. To rise above the rest, you must rise above your mood. And that's not suppression, that's mastery. It's not numbness, it's sovereignty. The Stoics trained for this daily, not to eliminate emotion, but to understand it, to guide it, to harness it. Seneca, in all his blunt brilliance, warned us anger is not just a flash of fire, it is a failure of preparation. Let that land. When anger overtakes you, when anxiety controls you, when sadness drowns you, it's not fate, it's not destiny. It's a sign that you were unprepared for the storm. And how do you prepare? By embracing reality, not the fantasy version of it. By expecting life to be unpredictable, unfair, even inconvenient. Because here's the hard truth. When you expect life to be easy, every inconvenience feels personal. Every delay feels like an insult. Every disruption feels like betrayal. But when you expect adversity, when you rehearse difficulty in your mind before it arrives, you meet it with calm. You meet it with steadiness. You meet it with sovereignty. It doesn't catch you off guard. It doesn't rattle your foundation. It arrives, and you remain unmoved, because your response, that is always your domain, even when everything else isn't. This isn't denial. It's dominance of self. It's quiet, cultivated strength, built through repetition, sharpened through reflection, honed through hardship. It's becoming the captain of your inner ship, not the passenger, tossed about by every crashing wave of feeling. And let's be clear, to prepare for hardship is not to become cynical. It's to become centered. It's to root yourself so deeply in clarity that chaos cannot uproot you. The Stoic trains their mind, not in fear, but in forethought, not in avoidance, but in awareness. Difficulty, it's inevitable. The storm will arrive. But your response, that's your domain. That's your practice. That's your edge. The Stoic doesn't seek to avoid the storm. They seek to remain whole within it. Because peace, it's not the absence of disturbance. It's the presence of steadiness in the midst of it. While others unravel at criticism, you remain composed. While others panic in uncertainty, you remain anchored. The most powerful person in any room. It's not the loudest. It's not the most impressive. It's not the most reactive. It's the calmest. Calm is not weakness. It's power under control. It's presence. It's discipline. It's self-ownership. Forged not through detachment, but through deep engagement with your inner world. It's built in the fire of past storms. In the quiet hours, you chose restraint over reaction, patience over provocation, reflection over retaliation. Calm is not a gift, it's a craft. It's earned. And like any craft, it's refined daily, moment by moment, decision by decision. It grows through the invisible, private choices, to hold your ground inwardly when the world pulls hard at your patience. And no, calm doesn't mean you lack emotion. It means you've learned to feel without being ruled. It means you've learned to harness without being hijacked. It's the steady flame that doesn't flicker when the winds rattle the windows. Built through meditation, self-examination, relentless pursuit of awareness. It's the fruit of countless quiet moments where you choose reflection over reaction. The Stoic doesn't shout in conflict. They inquire. They don't panic in uncertainty. They pause. They don't fuel the drama. They neutralize it through calm, through awareness, through quiet control. They ask questions instead of casting blame. They seek understanding over accusation. They hold the emotional line when the world pulls hard to unravel them. Because composure, it's not compliance. It's conscious power. Their emotions serve reason, not the reverse. Emotion is acknowledged, understood, guided, not suppressed, directed. Like a river, channeled into a turbine, it fuels without flooding. The Stoic sees emotion not as something to erase, but as energy to be refined. Anger becomes assertiveness without cruelty. Fear becomes caution without paralysis. Sadness becomes depth without despair. It's not apathy, it's mastery. It's presence, it's self-respect. To feel without losing clarity. To grieve without collapsing. To fear without freezing. To doubt without retreating. It allows them to stand unshaken, even when the world trembles, when the winds howl, the storms rage, the chaos swirls. They breathe, they think, they rise. Their calm becomes a lighthouse, a guidepost, not just for themselves, but for others, lost in the storm. And so the practice is this: the next time anger rises, the next time anxiety sneaks in, the next time sadness weighs heavy, do not act, do not react. Pause, breathe, write it down. What are you feeling? What story are you telling yourself? Is it true? Is it useful? Interrupt the spiral. Replace reaction with reflection. That is the art of emotional elevation. That is the foundation of inner mastery. Because in the end, to rise above the rest is to rise above your untamed emotions, not by silencing them, but by steering them. And from that, you walk with quiet power. You carry presence that cannot be faked. You radiate calm that steadies not only yourself, but those around you. That is Stoic emotional mastery. That is how you rise. Number 6, the power of presence. Winning the moment before it begins to rise above the rest is not to outpace the world. It's to outpresence it. In a culture that confuses speed with success, where the loudest voice often overshadows the wisest one, the Stoic chooses a quieter, far more powerful path. They slow down. They plant themselves firmly in the now, because they know victory is not earned only in outcomes. It's secured in presence. Marcus Aurelius, burdened by an empire, surrounded by politics, distractions, war, still reminded himself, confine yourself to the present. He wasn't talking about escapism. He wasn't preaching ignorance of the future. He was revealing power, because your strength, your composure, your clarity, it all begins where your feet are. Presence. It's not a luxury. It's a superpower. In presence, you catch your thoughts before they become habits. You catch your tone before words you regret escape your lips. You breathe. Instead of break, you pause, just long enough to choose a wiser response, rather than default to an old one. And in that pause, you reclaim your edge. Most people lose the moment before they even arrive in it. Why? Because they're lost in rehearsals for futures that haven't happened, or regrets from pasts they cannot change. They're spectators in their own life, physically present, mentally absent, consumed by imaginary outcomes, while the real moment quietly slips past. But the Stoic, they reclaim it. They root themselves in now. Presence is not passive. It's not detachment. It's fierce. It's deliberate. It's intentional. It's where effort becomes focused, where words carry weight, where decisions sharpen. To be present is to become intimate with reality, to say, this is where I am, this is what I can do, and this is enough. But let's be honest, it isn't easy. It takes training. It takes discipline. It takes the courage to endure the discomfort of stillness, when distraction would be so much easier. But what you gain in return: agency, sovereignty, mastery over your reactions, the grace to meet life as it unfolds, not as you fear it, not as you fantasize it, as it is. The Stoic remains here, anchored, rooted, not in resignation, but in intention, not by force, but by clarity. It's not a lack of ambition, it's the understanding that ambition without presence is a scattered storm, chaotic, exhausting, aimless. The Stoic knows chasing endlessly after the horizon, while neglecting the terrain beneath your feet, is to sacrifice the only real leverage you have. Your power is here. Your influence is here. Your choices, your character, your becoming happen here. Not in the abstract someday, in the undeniable now. The mind that chases future triumphs overlooks the raw, shaping power of this moment. And so, the Stoic stands still, not in stagnation, in strength, greatness. It's not manufactured through frantic activity. It's cultivated in quiet precision. The most powerful choices, often the smallest, made when no one is watching, grounded in values no one else sees. The Stoic breathes into now, trusting that this breath, well lived, leads to the next breath, well earned. They engage fully with the task at hand, no matter how mundane, because they know it is the soil in which consistency grows, in which character strengthens. Tomorrow, it doesn't arrive whole. It emerges, one choice at a time, formed by the accumulated momentum of deliberate presence. Each moment claimed with clarity shapes a future you will not have to regret. Each second spent grounded is another brick in the foundation of a life you can respect. The Stoic knows this. While others drift, distracted, detached, the Stoic builds, thought by thought, act by act, the architecture of meaning. They don't escape into the illusion of later. They act within the truth of now. They reject the false security of delay. They face the sacred demand of the moment. They refuse the seduction of someday. They replace it with the discipline of today. Later, it's a lie. Comfort, often an enemy of growth. Procrastination. It wears the mask of patience, but bleeds purpose, truth. It lives here, in the small acts, in the quiet resolve, in the mindful presence of someone who knows this moment is enough. This moment is everything. To be here fully, it's not just a gift. It's the way forward. the way through, the way up. So, here's your practice. Every hour, pause, one breath, full attention. Ask, where am I? What am I feeling? What is mine to do? Right now. It sounds small, it sounds simple, but trained like a muscle. It's transformational. Because the future you want, it's not built in tomorrow. It's built here, in this breath, in this choice, in this moment. Rise by returning to now, again and again and again. Number 7, detachment. Not indifference, letting go without giving up. One of the greatest misunderstandings of Stoicism, one that keeps resurfacing, one that people twist into a misconception, is this: that to be Stoic is to be numb, cold, uncaring, disconnected from life. But the truth couldn't be further from that shallow interpretation. The Stoic, they care deeply, they love fiercely, they commit wholly, but they refuse to be owned by outcomes. Detachment. It's not the absence of care. It's the mastery of direction. It's the ability to give your all without losing yourself. When the results fall beyond your control, Epictetus put it simply, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. So what does the Stoic do? They practice letting go, not of effort, but of entitlement, not of action, but of the illusion of control over outcomes. They commit fully, they love freely, they work diligently, and then they release. They don't hang their peace on what they cannot command, and in that release is an almost unexplainable power. Because they're unattached to outcomes, they move with freedom, they act with clarity, they choose with courage. They don't hesitate because they don't obsess over whether they'll succeed. They don't second guess because they don't need the future to obey their preferences. They plant their effort in the soil of integrity, and they leave results to nature. Because they're unattached to praise, they speak truth, unfiltered, unpolished by the hunger to be liked. They're not puppets, pulled by the strings of approval. They say what is right, not what is popular. Their words, they carry weight, not because they're loud, but because they're born of principle, not performance. Because they're unattached to fear, they act with courage. Not because they feel no fear, but because fear no longer decides for them. Their direction governed by values, not vulnerabilities. They don't seek comfort, they seek clarity. And that clarity, it gives them audacity to move forward, even into the unknown, even when the outcome is uncertain, even when the world demands guarantees. Detachment doesn't make them numb, it makes them unstoppable. They love without clinging. They act without demanding. They serve without expectation. They strive without obsession. It's not indifference. It's intentional freedom. It's walking through life, fully engaged, but never enslaved. It's showing up for the work, without chaining your worth to the outcome. It's giving your best, without sacrificing your peace when life doesn't unfold according to your script. And isn't that what destroys most people? The unmet expectations, the rigid attachment, the belief that if things don't go their way, they are somehow less. But the Stoic knows better. They write their effort in ink. They write their expectations in sand because they understand control is an illusion, but choice is always yours. They choose their response, their values, their action, their direction, and then they let go. And in that letting go, they rise. Here's your reflection. Notice today, where is your peace hooked to something beyond you? Recognition, outcome, approval, external validation. Gently unhook. Whisper to yourself, I control the input, not the outcome. Return to your task, to your values, to your present moment. That is where your power lives. It's not apathy, it's alignment. It's not withdrawal, it's wisdom. It's the quiet strength to give your all and to walk away at peace when life unfolds as it will, not as you wish. It's how the Stoic rises, not by controlling the world, but by refusing to let the world control them. Number 8, stillness is the standard, slowing down to level up. We live in a world sprinting nowhere. Hustle, noise, reaction, performance, endless motion with little meaning. But the Stoic moves differently. They slow down, not out of laziness, but out of wisdom. Stillness, it's not stagnation, it's strength. It's not doing nothing, it's doing the right thing at the right pace. The Stoics knew silence is where decisions mature. Quiet is where courage sharpens. Stillness is not their weakness, it is their edge. In solitude, they don't shrink, they expand. They don't avoid, they listen. They don't run from it, they use it. Solitude, it's not their burden, it's their sanctuary. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of an empire, surrounded by chaos, still carved time to sit, to reflect, to be still. Not because he was idle, but because he understood. If you cannot be still, you cannot be wise. If you cannot quiet your mind, you cannot hear what truly matters. Stillness is not an escape from action. It is the refinement of action. It's where movement becomes meaningful, where intention filters noise, where your energy sharpens instead of scatters. In stillness, you weigh your motives. Without the pressure of performance, you reconnect, not just with how you act, but with why. You realign your intentions with values rather than vanity. And in that stillness, you begin to hear what the world drowns out. The subtle signals, the quiet truths, the deeper wisdom beneath the noise. Stillness allows the smoke to clear so the path can appear. When the world demands speed, stillness chooses substance. When others rush to decide, stillness waits to understand. It gives you space to observe your patterns, to question your impulses, to reset your course. Before momentum hardens into misdirection, it gives shape to thought, substance to intuition, structure to your soul. In the quiet, you become your own advisor. You consult, not with fear, not with ego, but with truth. It restores vision. Where frenzy breeds blindness, it clears the fog of urgency and reveals what is essential. It slows the pulse of panic. It allows principle to lead. It brings grace to pressure, courage to uncertainty. It brings your heart and your mind back into rhythm. Stillness gives you back your judgment, not reaction, not instinct, but judgment. Deliberate, calm, earned, and from judgment everything else flows. Your timing, your tone, your tenacity, your resilience, all of it sharpened. In the crucible of stillness, where noise dies down and the truth of who you are and who you must become has room to speak. But here's the reality: most people never slow down long enough to find this strength. They fear the silence. They avoid the stillness. Because in the quiet, the truth speaks. The distractions dissolve. The uncomfortable becomes visible. But for the Stoic, that discomfort is the doorway. That stillness is the forge. Here's your practice schedule: 10 minutes of pure stillness every day. No phone, no noise, no distraction, no stimulation, just breath, just thought, just you with yourself. At first it will feel pointless, unproductive, restless. Stay anyway, because beneath the restlessness is revelation. Beneath the discomfort is direction. The greatest advantage, the rarest edge, the most overlooked source of growth. It isn't working harder. It isn't moving faster. It's learning to be still long enough to hear what truly matters. Stillness. It's not your escape. It's your edge. It slows the world down long enough for you to rise. Number 9. Self-respect over approval. Living by the inner scorecard. It's easy, incredibly easy, to measure yourself by the world's applause, by the fleeting approval of strangers, by the ever-shifting rules of popularity. But the Stoic, they play a different game, a slower game, a truer game. To rise above the rest, you must rise above the addiction to being liked. You must trade public approval for private alignment, outer applause for inner peace, the crowd scorecard for your own. Seneca said it plainly: "What progress have I made? I'm beginning to be my own friend." And that's the Stoic aim, to become someone you respect in solitude, to build a life that holds firm, even when the spotlight fades, even when no one claps, even when no one notices but you. Because here's the quiet truth: every time you say yes when you mean no, you fracture your integrity. You teach yourself that your boundaries are negotiable, that your truth can be silenced for the sake of comfort. Every time you follow the crowd against your better judgment, you weaken your soul. Because deep down, a part of you knows you're betraying what you stand for. That fracture, it doesn't scream, but it lingers. It shows up as quiet unrest, as subtle misalignment, as the nagging feeling that you're performing a life instead of living one. But every time you choose your values over validation, you strengthen your center. You declare that your character is not for sale, that your compass will not spin to please the masses, and that alignment, it builds trust, not with others, but with yourself. And that trust is rare, resilient, unshakable. It's how you walk with calm, not because life lacks pressure, but because you have clarity. It's how you lead with conviction, not because it's always easy, but because it's always true. It's how you become undeniable, not through noise, but through quiet, consistent integrity. You stop chasing approval. You start living for alignment. Your life no longer a performance, but a reflection of your principles, of your deepest values, of your quiet truth. And when the spotlight fades, when the applause dies down, when the crowd looks elsewhere, you remain whole, steady, unshaken. So here's your invitation. Pick one decision this week, a small one, a quiet one, but a true one. a decision that aligns with your values. Even if it goes unnoticed, even if it's misunderstood, it could be choosing honesty when silence would be easier, setting a boundary others may not appreciate, keeping a promise to yourself, even though no one is watching. Whatever it is, make it count. Let it reflect your principles, not your need for praise. Then do it without explanation, without apology, without waiting for applause. Let your actions echo in the space between who you are and who you are becoming, because the reward, it's not in recognition, it's in resonance with your own spirit. The feeling of alignment. It's subtle but profound. It creates a quiet confidence, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that holds. It becomes your compass. When the world confuses you, your strength. When approval is absent, your peace. When results are slow, your reward is internal alignment. And that is worth everything. It's how you become someone who rises quietly, consistently, undeniably, above the rest. Number then. Rise again. The final ascent. Here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to admit. To rise is not a one-time victory. It's not a cinematic moment. It's not an Instagram-worthy before and after. It is a rhythm, a quiet, persistent return, a daily, often invisible ascent. You will fall, you will forget, you will drift, you will doubt. But the Stoic, they don't measure their life by how few times they stumble. They measure it by how quickly they rise again. Marcus Aurelius said it best. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The path. It's not smooth. It's not easy. It's not linear. It's jagged. It's unpredictable. It's relentless. And that's the point. Because we do not rise in spite of obstacles, we rise through them. The Stoic doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. They rise precisely because they are not. The climb, it never ends. There is no final plateau, no summit where effort becomes unnecessary, no moment where challenges cease to appear. Each level reveals another ridge, another lesson, another test. The summit, it's not out there, it's in you. It's marked not by applause, but by character, not by milestones, but by the quiet sharpening of focus, of discipline, of resilience. It's who you become, through the climb, through the struggle, through the refusal to let hardship bend your soul into bitterness. Even pain, when embraced with purpose, becomes a forge. And make no mistake, you will be tested by failure, by fatigue, by the whisper of give up, by the loud inner critic that questions your worth, by days when the weight feels unbearable, by moments when no one's watching, and still, you must move forward. The path, it's not paved with ease. It is made of obstacles, not detours, not interruptions. They are the way. Each challenge a silent gatekeeper, asking not if you're flawless, but if you have the will to keep rising despite your flaws. These trials, they're not outside your journey. They are the journey. They reveal your values, your grit, your truth, your sacred stubbornness. They expose what you hold sacred when everything else is stripped away. Every setback, every hardship, a mirror and a chisel, a reflection of your present condition, a sculpting tool for your future potential. Through the ache of effort, the burn of persistence, you uncover what you are made of, and more importantly, what you are willing to become. The fire. It doesn't destroy gold. It reveals it. The heat. It strips away what is false. It leaves only what is real. And if you allow yourself to step into that fire again and again, you emerge, not untouched by hardship, but refined by it. Your edges smoothed, your core strengthened, your convictions sharpened. You will not be who you were before. You will be more, stronger, clearer, more grounded, more aligned. You will hold quiet power, the kind that doesn't need to prove, the kind earned, not declared, the kind that radiates, not from volume, but from presence. You will become someone the world cannot overlook, not because of your noise, but because of your unshakable being. That is how you rise, not by pretending you never fell, but by showing, again and again, that you refuse to stay down. And so, here is your invitation. Revisit your journal, your notes, your intentions. Circle the traits, the decisions, the actions that reflect who you want to be, who you are becoming, the self that is quietly, relentlessly rising. Then live them today, not tomorrow, not someday, today, because this moment, right now, is your mountain and your soul. It was built to rise. Final reflection. This is not the end. This is the rhythm, the return, the next breath, the next choice, the next descent. You will fall. Rise again. You will doubt, rise again. You will hesitate, rise again. Not for the applause, not for the approval, for the alignment, for the quiet strength, for the truth that you were made to rise. And now, as we bring this journey to a close, I want you to take a slow, steady breath. Let it fill your chest and just settle there for a moment. You've listened, you've reflected, you've allowed yourself, even for these few quiet minutes, to step outside the chaos, the pressure, the noise that so often wraps around us like a fog. It's easy, isn't it, to forget that growth doesn't happen in loud, dramatic moments. It happens exactly like this, quietly, gradually, in the small, steady choices you make when no one is watching, in the space between impulse and intention. The truth is, you won't rise above the rest in one leap. You won't do it overnight, but you will rise in your own time, with your own rhythm, step by step, quietly, patiently, unshaken. The world out there, it's going to keep spinning. The noise, the opinions, the expectations, they'll all still be there. But inside you, something is different now. You've planted a seed, the seed of presence, of self-respect, of quiet, unshakable strength. So tonight, let yourself rest in that. There's no rush, no proving, no performing, just you and the slow, steady climb to becoming the person you've always been capable of being. Sleep well tonight. You've earned it. And when you wake, you'll rise again. Sweet dreams.